Why do we always love the ones who hurt us the most? Because sometimes the people who break our hearts are the same people who once made us feel the most alive. And maybe that's the cruelest part of being human. The heart does not measure love by peace. It measures love by intensity, by longing, by emotional impact, by the sleepless nights, the unanswered messages, the memories that refuse to die, even after the person is gone. Have you ever noticed how the people who treated you gently are often forgotten, while the one who confused you, abandoned you, or made you question your worth somehow stays in your mind for years? It doesn't make sense logically. You know they hurt you. You know they disappointed you. You know you deserved better, yet somehow your soul still reaches for them in quiet moments, late at night, during songs that suddenly sound too personal, during random memories that appear without warning like ghosts knocking at your chest. And maybe you hate yourself for it. Maybe part of you wonders, why can't I move on? Why do I still miss someone who made me suffer? Why does pain sometimes feel more unforgettable than love itself? But this isn't weakness. This is something ancient within human psychology. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist not only persists, but will grow in size." And the people who hurt us often awaken parts of ourselves we never knew existed. Our fears, our wounds, our need for validation, our hunger to feel chosen. Sometimes we are not attached to the person. We are attached to the emotional storm they created inside us, because the human mind becomes addicted to emotional uncertainty, to the hope that one day the person who hurt us will finally become the person we needed them to be. And that hope can imprison someone for years. Tonight, we're going deeper than heartbreak. We're going into the psychology of attachment, the philosophy of suffering, and the silent reason humans often chase the love that destroys them. Because once you understand why this happens, you may finally understand yourself. Part 1. We confuse emotional intensity with love. There's a reason peaceful love sometimes feels boring to people who have been emotionally wounded. Because chaos creates adrenaline, uncertainty creates obsession, and the human brain often mistakes emotional turbulence for passion. Think about it. The person who replies inconsistently, the one who disappears and returns, the one who gives affection one day and distance the next. Why do they become unforgettable? Because they accidentally turn love into gambling. Your brain starts chasing emotional rewards the same way gamblers chase slot machines. Not knowing when affection will arrive makes the reward feel more powerful when it finally comes. One loving message after days of silence suddenly feels magical. One moment of warmth becomes enough to erase weeks of pain. And slowly, you become emotionally addicted. This is why toxic relationships often feel harder to leave than healthy ones. Healthy love is stable, but unstable love creates emotional spikes that trap the nervous system. Buddha warned humanity about this centuries ago when he said, "Attachment is the root of suffering." Not love, attachment. Because attachment says, I need this person to feel complete. And once love becomes emotional dependency, suffering begins. Many people are not in love with who the person truly is. They are in love with the emotional highs and lows the relationship creates. Like a drug. One moment you feel abandoned, the next moment they return, and suddenly you feel chosen again. That emotional contrast creates intensity, and intensity is often mistaken for destiny. But real love does not constantly make you anxious. Real love does not force you to beg for emotional consistency. A peaceful connection may feel unfamiliar at first because your nervous system became trained to expect chaos. And sometimes, people who hurt us the most stay in our hearts because they activated our deepest emotional wounds, not because they were our deepest love. The tragedy is that many people spend years chasing emotional chaos, believing it is romance, while genuine love quietly passes them by. Part 2. We try to heal childhood wounds through romantic love. This is the part nobody talks about. Some relationships hurt so deeply because they awaken unfinished emotional stories from childhood. The neglected child, the abandoned child, the unseen child. And without realizing it, many adults spend their lives searching for someone who can finally heal those invisible wounds. Carl Jung believed that until we make the unconscious conscious, we will keep repeating the same emotional patterns and call it fate. That's why people often fall in love with familiar pain, not because it feels good, but because it feels known. A person who grew up chasing affection from emotionally unavailable parents may later become obsessed with emotionally unavailable partners. Why? Because the nervous system confuses familiarity with safety. Even suffering can feel comfortable when it resembles the emotional environment you were raised in. And this is why some people become addicted to relationships where they constantly have to prove their worth. They are not only fighting for love in the present, they are fighting for the love they never fully received in the past. You see it everywhere. Someone tolerates disrespect because deep inside they believe love must be earned through sacrifice. Someone stays loyal to a person who keeps hurting them because abandonment feels more terrifying than suffering itself. And perhaps the saddest truth is this: many people are not trying to be loved. They are trying to finally feel worthy of love. So when a difficult person gives them occasional affection, it feels incredibly powerful. Because for one brief moment, the wound disappears. For one brief moment, they feel chosen. Nietzsche once wrote, "Invisible threads are the strongest ties, and childhood wounds are invisible threads that silently shape adult relationships." This is why heartbreak sometimes feels unbearable. The pain is not only about losing the person, it is about losing the fantasy that this person would finally heal the emptiness inside you. But no human being can permanently heal a wound you refuse to face yourself. That realization changes everything. Because healing begins the moment you stop asking, "Why didn't they love me enough?" and start asking, "Why did I believe I had to suffer in order to deserve love?" The people who hurt us most often become mirrors. They reveal the parts of ourselves still desperate for validation, and painful as that truth may be, it is also the beginning of freedom. Part 3. Why the human mind romanticizes pain after loss. Isn't that terrifying? How the mind can transform suffering into nostalgia. How someone who made you cry for months can suddenly become the person you miss. But the human mind is not a perfect historian. It is an emotional storyteller. And after loss, the brain begins editing reality. The arguments fade. The disrespect fades. The sleepless nights fade. But the emotional highlights remain. Their smile, their voice, that one perfect night, the moments when they made you feel seen. And slowly, memory turns a flawed person into a symbol of love, a symbol of what could have been, a symbol of unfinished emotional desire. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement, when unpredictable affection creates stronger emotional attachment than consistent affection. But philosophers understood this long before psychology gave it a name. The ancient Stoics warned that humans suffer more from imagination than reality itself. And heartbreak proves it, because after someone leaves, the mind no longer fights the actual person, it fights the fantasy of them. You stop grieving who they truly were, you begin grieving who you hoped they would become. That's why closure feels impossible for many people. They are not mourning the relationship. They are mourning the future they imagined, the wedding that never happened, the conversations that never came, the apology they waited years to hear. And because those things never fully ended, the brain keeps replaying the story, searching for a different ending. Albert Camus once wrote, "There is no greater suffering than remembering happiness in times of misery." And heartbreak traps people inside emotional time travel. A song can pull you backward. A place can reopen a wound instantly. A single notification can awaken emotions you thought were buried forever, because pain leaves emotional fingerprints on memory. But here is the dangerous part. The longer loneliness continues, the more the mind idealizes the past. This is why people sometimes return to relationships that destroyed them, not because the relationship changed, but because memory softened the pain and magnified the connection. The mind would rather hold on to familiar suffering than face uncertain emptiness. And yet, healing begins when you stop worshipping the memory of someone and start remembering the reality of how they made you feel consistently. Not occasionally, consistently, because love is not measured by rare, beautiful moments. It is measured by emotional safety over time. And once you truly understand that, you stop chasing ghosts disguised as soulmates. Part 4, letting go, is the most painful and most powerful form of love. There comes a moment after enough sleepless nights, enough unanswered messages, enough emotional exhaustion, when the heart quietly begins surrendering. Not because it stopped loving, but because it finally became tired of bleeding. And this is the part nobody prepares you for. Letting go is not a single decision. It is 1,000 tiny decisions made every day. Choosing not to check their profile, choosing not to reopen old conversations, choosing not to romanticize the memories that destroyed your peace, choosing yourself, even while part of you still misses them. That is real strength, not revenge, not emotional coldness, not pretending you never cared. Real strength is grieving honestly without allowing grief to chain you forever. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Because eventually you understand a painful truth. You cannot heal in the same emotional environment that broke you. And sometimes love becomes dangerous when it asks you to abandon yourself in order to keep someone else. Many people stay attached because they believe letting go means the relationship meant nothing. But that is not true. Some people change your life permanently and still do not belong in your future. Some connections are meant to awaken you, not accompany you forever. And maybe that's why heartbreak transforms people so deeply. It forces confrontation with the self, with your fears, your loneliness, your emotional dependencies, your unhealed wounds. Pain has a strange way of revealing the parts of ourselves we avoided for years. Albert Camus once said, "In the depth of winter, I finally learned that within me there lay an invincible summer. That invincible summer is the version of you that survives heartbreak without becoming bitter. The version of you that learns love should feel safe, not exhausting. The version of you that finally stops chasing people who only offer temporary warmth and permanent confusion. Because true love does not leave you constantly questioning your worth. True love does not thrive on emotional instability. True love does not make you beg for consistency. And one day, slowly, quietly, almost unexpectedly, you stop missing the chaos. You stop needing closure from someone incapable of giving it. You stop trying to be enough for people who were never emotionally prepared to receive your love fully. And in that moment, something extraordinary happens. The energy you once used to chase someone else finally returns home to you. That is the beginning of healing. That is the beginning of peace. And maybe the real reason we love the people who hurt us the most is because they force us to discover the one person we were abandoning the entire time, ourselves. So if this video found you during a painful season of your life, remember this: some people enter your life to teach you what love is. Others enter your life to teach you what love should never cost. And the moment you learn the difference, you become free.